What's going on, Packers fans? Welcome into the Pack a Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. We're being presented today by Alchemy Wealth Management. Check out Ryan Nelson over at retirewithryan.net. Free, and I mean free retirement consultation. Normally $175 value. You get that for free right now for Pack a Day podcast guests only. So check that out again, retirewithryan.net. The link is in the show description as well. We are being joined by Mike Wahle. You can find him on social media at Mike Wahle68. If you did not check out our live show yesterday, make sure to do so. We already covered a lot of great topics, but excited to dig into this one. Well, I'm kind of excited to dig into this one even more. Mike, how the heck are you doing, my friend?
Andy, doing great. Good to talk to you as always.
Yeah, likewise. Let me just start by this, or with this. I'll give you the floor to kind of go in any direction that you want. The obviously disappointing loss in Cleveland. What were your kind of key takeaways from this one, and just anything that you're still marinating on after that loss?
Yeah, well, I think we covered it a little bit yesterday. You know, you start at the finish. You have a special teams blunder to effectively lose the game, which is tough. And it was just one of those days in the NFL that was going to happen. I think I saw 3 block kicks and 2 of them returned for touchdowns within a span of like a 5-minute real time 5 minutes. So it was happening across the league for some reason yesterday, but you don't like to see that with your team, particularly when we've had those question marks over the last couple of years with our special teams and their operations. Look, offensively, for as good as the Packers can be on paper, for as good as Josh Jacobs is in reality, for all of the opportunities that we see with Tucker Kraft and Matthew Golden and Romeo Doubs and all of this stuff, and how good Jordan Love is, and some people saying that he's the best quarterback or he's top 5. Or it all starts with the offensive line play. It all starts in the trenches. This league is still or is being revitalized or revamped back into. You need to have really, really good offensive and defensive line play in order to win football games against tough opponents. And I thought yesterday the Cleveland Browns, who are a very, very physical defense, very physical defensive box, and are led by the best player, defensive player, whatever you want to call it in football, and Myles Garrett. I thought they just physically beat us. They beat our techniques. They beat our pad level. They beat our finishing. And because of that, and it happened early as the second play in the game, you just see a really, really good play caller, a really good quarterback scrambling for answers, scrambling how to get easy wins on consecutive plays. And I think that's just a very, very difficult way to win a football game against anybody in the National Football League, regardless if they got a 40-some-year-old quarterback playing for them or not.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We spent some time, obviously, on the offensive line in the live show yesterday, but there's a couple of questions I want to follow up on. The first is Elgton Jenkins, the move to center. How would you evaluate it so far? Is there any thought in your mind of like, hey, maybe he should just be a guard, or is this just kind of a work in progress, or has he been totally fine? What have you seen from him so far?
Well, let's just start with he's a really good player. I think he's a better and / more valuable guard at this point than he is at center. And it's not that he's a bad center, but I think when you look at the best Tyler Lindenbaum, Creed Humphrey, some of the best guys in the league, and then you look at what Elgton Jenkins brings to the table right now, and I think again a part of this is them being the Packers, kind of trying to figure out what they're good at. I'm not as in love with maybe his footwork, his body angles, the way the position he's trying to get to against that defensive lineman, whether it's his angle of departure, whether it's trying to stay on track, etc. Like, I'm not as thrilled with that as maybe some of those other guys, and again, different offenses. But I'll just go back to it. I just don't. It's hard for me to understand why you take a player who is, you're probably your second best player on the offensive line, but he's been a multiple-time Pro Bowler. Why you would take a guy away from a position that has to, on a down-to-down basis, see some of the best defensive tackles in the league, 3 techniques, 2 eyes, whatever, and put him at a position where he's going to effectively have help all the time, and then put somebody there who maybe isn't the same caliber of player. I just don't. I'll even if he makes the Pro Bowl, I'll just never understand it. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me because of how good he was at the guard position.
You mentioned in the live show yesterday that you're not sure, and maybe this is just the one of if everyone's in their right position or not. Just kind of looking at it, do you have a feel of like where players should be positioned on this line, where maybe there could be some changes that would maybe help this thing out?
Well, because of the injuries, I think it's difficult to speculate because you are looking the and generally speaking, the difference between your starter and your second team guy is usually pretty steep. And listen, you brought in Aaron Banks to play left guard. He's going to play left guard. I mean, we could talk. I can kind of go beleaguer that as much as you want, but that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they have a center option. To be quite frank, that if they move Jenkins back, move him. And the other thing is like Sean Ryan played better than everybody else yesterday, in my humble opinion. I saw more out of Sean Ryan than I saw out of everybody else on the offensive line yesterday. I just thought he played a more solid game. And then you've got your best player at right tackle, and he's hurt, so you're just trying to do this kind of rotation. The thing that popped up yesterday, we'll talk about it again, is like, so Jordan Morgan comes in, and he's got to go. I think he starts at right tackle, and you're like, oh, well, that's not good because he's got to play against Myles Garrett. And if anything, if you look at Belton, anybody else really, as just from Belton is the easiest one because he's 330 pounds. So at the very least, and he moves pretty well, at the very least, you're like, okay, well, he's got Myles Garrett now has to go through 330 pounds, which is a completely different conversation than having to go through 315, 310, right? That's a completely different ball of yarn. So that right there makes you go, I'm not so sure. And that's his natural position. The other thing is, then you move him to guard, and what you see is one of the reasons that he didn't beat out Sean Ryan was because Sean Ryan's more physical. It's not because he's a better athlete. Jordan Morgan's a good athlete. He's a first-round draft pick. He's got a lot of great qualities. And again, I think he's going to be a really quality player. And it's great that he's getting reps right now. And if you win the game while he's getting reps, it's like even better.
Right.
But in these situations where you're really struggling, and then you see him like footwork's failing him a little bit, body position's failing him a little bit, and then just the ability to finish against physical players is failing him a little bit. You then go say, well, is there anybody on the bench that can be more of if anything, just a physical presence to play between a guy who's been to the Pro Bowl multiple times and Elton Jenkins at center, and then a guy who's a really good physical offensive tackle and Rasheed Walker? Like, you've got two guys that can make him okay as long as you can get the footwork right. Just like it almost comes down to like, get in front of the guy and let the double teams do their job. Yeah. And he's not doing a great job of that right now.
Mike, for just about ever, we've heard, hey, you can't just move an offensive lineman from left tackle to right guard to center, center to right tackle. This isn't Madden. You can't just go into the player management and switch their position and, you're good to go. It seems kind of like for the last few years, the Packers have been like, well, actually, we're just going to put anyone out there at any position. You're going to have to know all 5 spots. And we feel like we can put you out there at different spots. Is this sort of a reminder of like, hey, this is a very difficult thing to do, to play? Like for Jordan Morgan, for example, he spent almost the entire offseason playing right guard, and left tackle, 3 different spots, 2 different sides of the line, tackle and guard. And now he didn't spend almost any time at right tackle. And now he's starting, or goes right in at right tackle when Zach Tom misses one play, then has to go over back to left guard. Is this just a stark reminder of like, hey, this is a really difficult thing to do? And does Green Bay maybe need to reevaluate how they go about moving these players around so willy-nilly, for lack of a better term?
Well, they've had success, and so it's hard to argue with success.
It's true.
Now, ultimately, you have to make the decision or the determination of do you feel like you're having success against like the top caliber football teams, or are you running up the score against teams that aren't so good?
Right.
If you're having a lot of success against the Cleveland, the top defenses, with your methodology, then yeah, it's like keep it. And if you're not, and you're like, okay, I just happen to be running the score up against these not so good teams, or like, listen, Matt LaFleur is like a top 5 play caller in the league, right? Like, I don't know where he lands, but it's I think he's probably a top 5 guy. So he's going to put you in these right situations. This is a very, very offensive line friendly system, and so it's easier to play offensive line friendly systems at different positions. Like, you go to you go to some of these heavy drop back shotgun, like all their play actions out of like, gift wrap shotgun, BS,
Yep.
fake handoffs. Like that's hard to play in. Passing the ball 60 times, that's hard to play in. But if you're just going to run this offense, it's like, yeah, I can kind of see what they're saying, and it's good to cross train these guys. But if your ultimate goal is winning the Super Bowl, and I don't know the answer to that, Andy, we're just talking because they just played a good defense. But you find that you're having real trouble with your developing players against like either good players or good defenses as a collective group. Then maybe you start thinking, well, maybe I should try to make some of these guys more specific. I think the hard part about that is there's a reality about how many guys you can carry on game day, right? On the 53, and that becomes a huge part of the equation.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be some cross training in some regard. It feels like sometimes, especially maybe for younger players, trying to get them a little bit more focused in would be beneficial. But like you said, there is certainly a reality to that as well. At one point, when Rasheed Walker's helmet broke, I think they were down to their final 5 guys that were available on the offensive line because Tom had already gone out, Banks had already gone out, and Walker's on the sidelines with a helmet issue. They didn't have another offensive line, so you better just figure it out as best you can at that point in time. All right, enough about the offensive line. I want to go to Jordan Love. We talked about the pick yesterday. We don't need to beleaguer that anymore. What did you think about Jordan's day outside of the interception and just how he kind of went about surviving a very difficult Browns defensive line, but on some of the balls that he did have a little bit more time, how did you feel he did in that game?
Well, I think it's difficult to start the game out getting sacked on the second play of the game. Taking 4 sacks in the first half with a guy who doesn't take a lot of sacks, quite frankly, he's always kind of been able to be an elusive player, throw on the run, find success throwing the run. I think he did that a little bit yesterday, but it's really hard. There was remember that 3rd and 1 where he rolls out to the right and that linebacker just comes up and clobbers him for a sack, and you're like, that's when you kind of know like something's off.
Yeah.
Right? Just get rid of the football, and so I can't understate how, or I can't overstate what a difficult time it is for the play caller and the quarterback when you find out on the second play that your center, who is, this, I know we're going to talk about Jordan Love, but I got to go through it. Like the snap count with the silent count and his head's between his legs and he's snapping the ball as he's bringing his head up and a guy's crossing his face and they get picked and they give up a sack. And you're like, are we never going to fix this? Like NFL, are we never going to figure this out? Like we figured this out 30 years ago. And now you guys, for whatever reason, they've reverted back to this absolute nonsense where you got everybody looking in. There's no timing. The defensive has all the advantage. They go into an obvious 2-eye stance to go across the center's face. Center has no idea. It gets beat for a sack. And you're just like, you're putting your quarterback, you're putting your play caller, you're putting your offense in this terrible situation because you guys don't want to practice a better silent count. And so when you get to that moment, and it's the second play, and you're like, oh, hell, it's going to be a long day. Now it's not only the coordinator kind of hitting that Rolodex of like what's going to work. It's also like quarterback's like, man, give me some quick throws. Give me the ball. Let the ball get out of my hand. Let me throw another quick out. Let me throw another quick out. Let me throw another quick out. Because they're just trying to get some sort of rhythm. And the other thing is we talked about, like he had opportunities to make some deep throws, and he can't because Myles Garrett and company are just like literally right in his face. He can't step into these balls. So a lot of that, like there's so much that goes into quarterback. And then one more, you got guys running the wrong routes. So there's so much that goes into the quarterback play, and like, all of that happened within the first 2 series. So there's so much that goes into it where, you look in, it's like, all right, I've played 11 snaps. I've run the quick out twice. I've been sacked, 1 or 2, at least once, if not twice. And I got guys running the wrong routes already. It's like, oh, it was like, what do we do? And so that's where, as a quarterback and a play caller in that relationship, that's where some of these early games are maybe a good thing, because I think you get the opportunity to start understanding what the entirety of that offense is going to do better, where they really struggle, and like what can we hang our hat on when times go rough. I don't know if they know those answers yet.
3 timeouts were used to avoid delay of game penalties yesterday. That a coaching thing, that a quarterback thing? It's probably impossible to tell just from the TV camera of like, was it the play call in late, or did Jordan not get him in there on time or whatever? But either way, it can't happen, and they've got to get that cleaned up, because you just can't. I mean, wasting 3 timeouts on what would have been delay of game penalties, not ideal.
No, procedural stuff is just absolutely killer. And you don't know if it's just like, I mean, you don't know if it's like a 20-second play call. You know what I mean? Like it's a blah 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 can or kill, or
Yep.
and then they got to figure it all out. And can you tell me that twice? I didn't get the last word. And I mean, there's a lot that goes into like the procedure part of like game management is absurdly complex, and they've made it more and more complex because the tight end wants hey, can you tag it for my guy for this route or this blocking scheme, or the offensive line wants to tag this protection, and there's just things that like it starts reasonable and it just expands. So the procedure part of the game is really, really difficult. The game management part is difficult, and you see that every week. And it's not just like the Mike Vrabel being real heady about getting a certain penalty so you can run off 10 seconds off the clock or something. It's like, it's this part of the game. This part of the game is really hard. And again, hostile environment, kind of trying to find the right call on the call sheet that like looks like a win, early on. Like all that stuff is really tough. And this is where, remember this too, Andy, like they're 8.5-point favorites, and they're everyone's saying they're the best team in football. You go and you get your teeth kicked in on the second, the first series of the game. It's like, oh man, like maybe maybe we didn't think about this one as hard as we should have. Like all those things really happen in the NFL, just like they happen in high school and college football. Like it's just because they're pros doesn't mean that you don't have emotions and you don't have bad reactions to certain environments.
Hey, friends, it's time to start getting our sleeper picks in for week 4. Vikings, Steelers, our first international game of the year. I think this one's going to be a defensive struggle, so I'm going to be going fewer on a lot of these categories, including Aaron Rodgers, fewer than 202.5 passing yards. I think this Vikings defense is going to be all over Aaron Rodgers, and I think passing the football is going to be extremely difficult in this game. Meanwhile, Jordan Mason, less than 79.5 rushing yards. To me, this Steelers defense is going to make Carson Wentz beat them and make sure that Jordan Mason is not getting the requisite yardage to need to get a win internationally. So I'm going Jordan Mason, fewer than 79.5 rushing yards. And last but not least, Justin Jefferson, more than 5.5 receptions. This is the one that I'm making an exception on for what I believe is going to be a defensive struggle. I think Minnesota is going to feed Justin Jefferson, get him involved early and often, and make him the star of that Sunday morning international game. Just to recap, Aaron Rodgers, fewer than 202.5 passing yards, Jordan Mason, fewer than 79.5 rushing yards, and Justin Jefferson, more than 5.5 receptions. Make sure to get your picks in over on Sleeper. You can get a 100% match up to $100 by using code PACKET. Again, a 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKET. Make sure to use that code. Check it out over on Sleeper. And make sure that you understand that terms and conditions can apply. So check out those terms and conditions over on Sleeper. It is available in over 25 states. So what are you waiting for? Get after it right now. It's why sports are just incredible, because just the moment that you're thinking you're on top of the world and you're unstoppable, you get a 0-2 team that has, everything to play for, because they are desperate at that point and they absolutely kick you in the face. And Green Bay clearly did not respond super well to that. I've seen some people say, hey, I didn't like this game plan on offense for Green Bay. I said in the live chat after, I'm like, I absolve Matt LaFleur, the play caller, because I don't know what you could have done. Now, Matt LaFleur, the head coach, to get the team and the offensive line and everyone playing a little bit better, that we can have a conversation on. I just don't know what game plan you could have used to do much different when you're just having that many protection issues up front. But is there anything that you would have liked to have seen Green Bay maybe do a little bit different from a game planning standpoint?
Yeah, the only thing that you just fundamentally don't like from a game planning standpoint is that they were trying to run a lot of wide zone stuff early on. And for me, when you have penetrating players, like you have pretty good players at every position in the box, and they're all playing fast and they're all penetrating, they're all playing uphill. What does that usually mean? That usually means you get penetration. And what does that mean? That means the running back's got to stop in the backfield or change direction or bounce, and now you have speed coming downhill. And it kind of played out exactly like you thought it would if you were just a casual observer. And then the Cleveland Browns had a lot of answers for that as well, as far as how they were going to slant and stunt and create these kind of like confrontations where, we're trying to reach a five tech, and the five tech is just coming right down the barrel and lighting you up face nose to nose. So there's some of those plays where you're like, okay, can we just, I always say this, man, like the dance party thing, like, can we just clear out some people and just get our five down and just see what we can do against a 5-man box or a 6-man box, or, the RPO stuff was obviously working. I think they only ran it 3 times, or at least they only kept it 3 times.
Right.
And it was an effective play. And what that shows you is like, okay, you have a whole system built off that idea. So what other things can we do in that system that are working? Now, maybe they gave us different looks and they were actually calling those plays and we don't know, but I suspect that, they want to keep Jordan safe. And so they're not running too many of those. But, sometimes defenses are going to be like, all right, man, we'll get like everyone's conceding something. Right. And it's just, it really is like, how much pain do you want to take ideas with NFL offenses and defenses? Like, we're going to give you this, but it's going to cost you, possibly knocking your quarterback out of the game. Like, are you willing to take that risk? And Cleveland kind of put it to Green Bay that way, I think, a little bit yesterday, in the way that they fully committed to Josh Jacobs. And so, yeah, you want to see some of those, maybe those change ups a little bit more, but when you're getting beat up front, and when you're getting beat up front as an offensive lineman and you're then being asked to run kind of to the sideline, it's like, well, I'm going to get ear hold. I'm not going to hold up against penetrating players running towards the sideline very much. So I'm just not a big fan of that philosophy.
No, I think that's fair. They have that play that we saw it once for sure yesterday, where they run out of different formations, but they usually run out of pony, where they've got, I think, a wide receiver on one side and then 2 wide receivers on the other, like a wide receiver and a tight end on the other. And one of the running backs will motion to the side of the wide receiver and the tight end. And then he basically just a numbers game. If he likes the one-on-one matchup on the outside with the wide receiver, he can go to that. They did that a lot with Devontae. Then otherwise, you're basically just reading. And if that running back goes to the side and you've got a numbers advantage there, they'll throw that little, bubble screen or little swing pass with the 2 blockers out front of it. If they don't have the numbers there, then they usually go with the handoff. But you can also do a read option off of that handoff to now you have like, all right, first read is almost, or like one of your options is the one-on-one on the outside. I don't like that. All right, my next one is, can I throw that little bubble to the outside? All right, don't like that. Do I have the advantage to hand it off when you're not blocking the defensive end? Nope, the defensive end's biting down. Now I can keep it. I almost wish there was a Rams playoff game, I want to say 3 years ago, where they spammed the hell out of that play. I almost would have liked to have seen maybe a little bit more of that, where you're just trying to count numbers and just try to get an advantage anywhere that you could. But again, outside of that, I feel like they kind of threw the kitchen sink at this thing and didn't have a whole heck of a lot to show for it at the end of the day.
Yeah, like that play in particular, or plays like that, there's 2 reads going on, right? There's a read that you make pre-snap, and then you have your post-snap read. So they may not want to put Jordan Love against that defense that attacks like that with Myles Garrett. Again, like Myles Garrett's a scary dude now. So you might not want to make the pre-snap read is, do I want to go to the slant or the glance, or the one-on-one? And if you do that, then that means that dude's gonna, is kind of barreling down on your face, right? Because he's that's backside of the quarterback, so he's just going to turn and go. The other one, when you're going to run the bubble or hand the ball off, that can be a pre or a post snap read as well, as is the handoff. And they just might be saying, and maybe wisely so, against this kind of defense, we really don't feel like we want to compromise our quarterback's health.
Yeah.
I think Jordan, like, once you start paying guys the kind of money they're paying quarterbacks, you really are thinking, when you're writing up your game plan, you are thinking like, if I lose him, I can't pay to replace him, even though we like Malik Willis, but you can't. It's like it's a true long-term investment for the club, and you get put in a real. I mean, you see it with. See on the other side of the Cleveland Browns, like Deshaun Watson, you got a real issue, right? So that does go into the thought process, even if you have a guy who's a real more mobile quarterback. I mean, Lamar Jackson doesn't run as much as he used to. I mean, it is what it is. It happens.
No, you're totally right. All right, a couple other things I want to get into. The good news, Mike, is that the defense was once again dominant. They've looked like a Super Bowl defense through 3 weeks. They have allowed fewer points than any other team in the NFL through 3 weeks. What did you see from the defense that allowed them to be successful in this one?
They just continue to play really well, except for that one that we talked about earlier. They've tackled extremely well. This was like a relatively conservative game plan given who they were playing against, and it kind of matches up exactly how you want it to. Their interior offensive line is, they've got 2 former All-Pro guards, but their tackle situation is bleak at best. They were starting like number 4 and number 5 on the depth chart. It's like keep everybody in front of you, tackle what you see, and just understand that our defensive ends and our pass rush plan with both of our linebackers is going to give these guys a lot of trouble. And Joe Flacco is the kind of quarterback that is really not interested in getting hit. He doesn't throw particularly well on the run. So it's like, and Joe's so old when you watch the film now, he's so smart. We had this with Vinny Testaverde in the Panthers. He was like, man, either win or lose early or don't lose at all. Because if you lose early, I'll just throw the ball away. And you see that a ton on tape, right? Or if he feels like there's going to be pressure, it's like 1, 2, 3. I'm not making my second read, man. That ball's going out of bounds. Or I'm trying to run out. I'm just trying to get the hell out of the way. And I think, the Packers are going to be able to continue to show so many different looks. Like they showed new pass rush looks with the linebackers this week, and they get to show so many different looks now with Parsons, Rashawn Gary, like all of these different weapons they have from just a pass rush standpoint. And all of that is going to continue to create pressure. Pressure creates picks. Turnovers win football games. So like it's really exciting to see the way that defense is playing, albeit against maybe a subpar offense in Cleveland. But they've played well every week. They played well enough to deserve this victory. And the one thing that we talked about in the live show, I'll say it again, is like Quay Walker, first-round draft pick, has started for a number of years, but has not been a star for a number of years. And he is really playing good football right now. The difference in his post-snap style is night and day from 2 years ago, even last year. And it's really, really fun to watch. Like you don't have to send him on dogs for him to make plays anymore. Like he's making plays all over the field. He's a field general. It's just been awesome to see that kind of that evolution. Cause I know I've been, somewhat critical of him just based on draft status.
You and me both. I literally did midway through the season last year, a little thing that said like, I think I'm good with the Quay Walker experience. I think I'm ready for something different. I think we need a change here. And then like the very next week, he went out and had the best game of his career, and then had another one, and then another one, and then had the injury, of course, and then came back now this year and is playing better than ever. So love eating crow in those situations. I'd always rather be wrong and see the player succeed. And that right now is what we're seeing with Quay Walker. He's playing really fun football.
I don't know if everybody saw it. Van Ness used a pass rush move this game and got a pressure on Flacco. He used a pass rush move. It was phenomenal. It wasn't just like run up field and 2-hand bull. Now he did that a lot too, but he used a no joke, simple chop rip pass rush move. Got past 71 early on. I don't know what it is with these tackles, by the way, who are like setting now and they're just putting this hand out. It's like, are you giving me the target now? Like, yeah. So for your fans out there, Andy, like, defensive coaches are telling you to attack the arm, and like if you're smart at all, an offensive line coach can be like, do not let him attack your arm. Make him attack your body because you're bigger than he is. Get in front of him, right? And they always talk about there's a half a man, 3/4 man. Like whatever, man. Like okay, but like do not put your arm out there and let him get to like your side and then attack it. It's like.
Just get a bullseye tattooed right on your arm that you're about to put
seriously.
out.
Just put a big X on there where you want him to hit it, man. It's like unbelievable. But he used it. Yeah, I love it. Listen, I love it. We're evolving.
It's just a stark reminder too. I know there's a lot of frustration with Jordan Morgan right now, the way that he played in this game. Jordan Morgan's in year 2. We're seeing LVN right now, a little bit later, a few years to develop. He's playing much better football. Quay Walker, a few years to develop, playing much better football. Devontae Wyatt, a few years to develop, playing much better football. It sucks. I know we don't like being patient. We want immediate gratification for those, especially those first round picks. And maybe Jordan Morgan never gets to that point. Maybe it's just a constant struggle for him and just one of those players that you missed on in the draft. But it's just a reminder they don't always just come ready made. It's not a set it and forget it from day one. More often than not, And hopefully with a little bit more time and a few more reps for Jordan Morgan, he'll have a similar sort of trajectory and be playing better football down the road. Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I think the hard part with that is like the first round tag. You get tagged with a first round pick, the expectations are deservedly so. Like their expectations are high. You know, if we're in the like if I'm in the locker room, we draft a guy in the first round, it's like, okay, he's gonna play this year. Like he's gonna be a contributor. He's coming in, he's not coming in as a project. Unless you're a quarterback, you're not coming in as a project. You're coming in as a prospect who can already contribute to the team. And so if you can't do that at like a reasonable level, then it is. I mean, listen, when Jamal Reynolds showed up from Florida State, it was like the 9th or 10th pick of the draft. Everybody was like, why? You know, because he's about linebacker size. Like he's not a very big guy. And he couldn't beat our third string guys in practice. And we were all just like, what, Ron, like why did you draft this guy? You know, he is not a good football player. And it sucks. Like it sucks for him because it's not his fault, but it's just the expectations that come in with being that guy. So yeah, I think Jordan Morgan is going to have a good football career, and I think he's going to be a good player. And these are just this is the reality of college football right now. This is the reality of like his line coach in college, at least his last year, was Pete Carroll's kid, Brennan, who's like he's Pete Carroll's kid. You know, I don't know how good technically he was coming out of college, right? He was a hard worker in the weight room. He's a good athlete, but he's got some things he needs to work on already. And then he gets to the highest level, and then he's expected to be, thrust in and play. It's a lot. And again, if he's a third round pick, we're going like, man, this guy's going to be something.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy. If he's a third round pick, you'd be going like, boy, he looks pretty good. I know he's making a lot of mistakes right now, but third round pick, wow.
Those expectations change quite a bit. There's no question about it. All right, before we get you out of here, Packers, Cowboys, what are you watching for in this one? I know it's early on. I know we haven't had a chance to really dig into the tape too much yet, but what are you watching for in this one?
Or are you watching?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know where to start with this. You expect the Packers to bounce back. I don't know what kind of resistance the Dallas Cowboys defense can realistically put up anymore. You just start looking, and I love there'll be the great conversation because Micah Parsons and Kenny Clark, and hopefully they bring up Kenny and they give him his respect on television. I hope that for him because he was such a great player here. Because you kind of get lost in the Micah Parsons deal. I expect Micah Parsons to have a good day. Quite frankly, he just like some guys rise to the occasion. He's one of them. Like I think he'll just have a good day, and I expect Kenny Clark to have a pretty good day as well. But I just don't know that the Dallas Cowboys defense has shown anything on film this year that suggests they can stop this team. So, we'll dig into it a little more later on. But yeah, I'm optimistic.
Yeah, there's a reason. I know we're coming off a game where the Packers were heavy favorites and it didn't work out great, but there's a reason why Green Bay is opening as heavy favorites in this game as well. I actually feel more confident about this one than I think I did against Cleveland. But yeah, hopefully Green Bay comes out, plays a much better brand of football, got the wake-up call that they needed against Cleveland, gets to the bye 3-1. You get the Bengals with no Joe Burrow the week after that, and hopefully this thing just trends in the right direction from here on out. Mike, I cannot thank you enough. Where can we find all of your incredible work and anything you want to plug on the way out?
Mike Wahle 68 on Twitter. I put out a new preview show on this Cowboys game, and I might put it out here, but on Process to Perform. Otherwise, on our YouTube channel. And Andy, thanks for having me as always.
Hey, it's always fun, Mike. I appreciate you a ton. We'll get caught up next week, of course. And like you said, maybe that preview show ends up here on the Pack-A-Day channel as well. But we'll get caught up next week, hopefully after a big Packers win against Dallas. That'll feel much better than certainly things feel today. That does it for us. You can follow him at Mike Wahle 68. You can find me at Andy Herman NFL. We'll see you guys soon. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.